Did you know that 88% of millionaires report visualizing their financial success daily? It's not just daydreaming, it's literally rewiring their brains for wealth. Meanwhile, you're still carrying around money beliefs from when you were 7 years old. In this video, I'll reveal the exact psychological patterns that separate the wealthy from everyone else, and why your current money mindset might be sabotaging your financial future. Stick around to discover the daily 5-minute exercise that self-made millionaires swear changed their financial trajectory forever. The money prison you don't know you're in. What if I told you your bank account is a direct reflection of what's happening in your mind? That the reason you're not reaching your financial goals has nothing to do with your job, the economy, or even your salary, but everything to do with the invisible programming running in your head? Here's the truth most financial experts won't tell you. Your financial reality isn't created by your paycheck. It's created by your subconscious beliefs about money. Think about it like this. Your mind is running financial software that you didn't choose to install. And this software is determining every money decision you make, whether you realize it or not. The craziest part? Most of this programming was installed before you turned 10 years old. That's right. The financial limitations you're experiencing today likely stem from money messages you absorbed as a child, long before you could critically evaluate them. It's like you're trapped in a money prison, with walls you can't see and bars you don't even know exist. When you were little, your brain was busy forming neural pathways around money based on what you observed. Did you hear your parents fighting about bills? Did they tell you, money doesn't grow on trees? Or we can't afford that? Maybe you watched them splurge after payday, only to struggle before the next check arrived. Your developing brain soaked up these patterns and stored them as money truth. Now, as an adult, these pathways have become your financial autopilot. A study from Duke University found that a shocking 70% of our financial decisions happen automatically, driven by subconscious patterns rather than conscious choice. That's right. Only 30% of your money moves are actually decisions you're making with full awareness. The rest are basically running on childhood autopilot. This explains something that puzzles many financial advisors: why two people with identical incomes can have drastically different financial outcomes. Take Mike and James, for example. Both earn $75,000 annually in similar jobs with comparable living expenses. 5 years later, Mike has $45,000 in savings and investments, while James is $12,000 in credit card debt. Same income, wildly different results. The difference? Not their paychecks, but their money mindsets. Mike grew up watching his parents budget carefully and invest consistently. They talked openly about money as a tool rather than a source of stress. James, however, absorbed his family's pattern of emotional spending during good times and panicked cutting back during tight months. His parents rarely discussed money except during arguments. These invisible beliefs create real-world financial sabotage all the time. I once worked with Lisa, a talented graphic designer who kept turning down higher-paying clients despite needing the money. When we dug deeper, we discovered she had internalized her father's belief that rich people are selfish. Subconsciously, she was avoiding wealth to stay good, according to her childhood programming. Or take Robert, who repeatedly invested in get-rich-quick schemes that drained his savings. His pattern traced back to watching his uncle chase fast money and hearing stories about striking it big. His brain was wired to see steady wealth building as boring and unreliable compared to the excitement of a potential windfall. The financial industry wants you to believe that better budgeting apps or the right investment strategy will fix your money problems. But if your subconscious mind believes I don't deserve wealth or rich people are lucky, not smart, you'll find ways to stay financially stuck despite having all the right tools. This explains why lottery winners often lose everything within a few years. Their sudden wealth doesn't match their internal money blueprint, so their subconscious works overtime to return them to their comfort zone, even if that zone is struggle. But here's where it gets interesting. What separates self-made millionaires from everyone else isn't just their actions, it's their underlying money mindset. Nearly every wealth study shows the same pattern. Before changing their financial practices, they first experienced a fundamental shift in how they thought about money itself. Take Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx and self-made billionaire. Before her business success, she deliberately reprogrammed her relationship with failure and money. She credits her father's dinner table question, "What did you fail at this week?" for teaching her that failure wasn't something to fear, but to learn from. This mindset shift enabled her to take the calculated risks that eventually built her fortune. Or consider Warren Buffett, who despite his immense wealth, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. His money mindset isn't about flashy spending, but about the thoughtful allocation of resources, a perspective he developed early through his father's teachings about value and long-term thinking. The good news in all this? Once you recognize that your financial struggles aren't about your income or job, but about the invisible money scripts running in your subconscious, you gain the power to change them. Just like outdated software can be updated, your money mindset can be reprogrammed. Think about it this way. If your current financial situation feels like trying to run modern apps on a computer from 1995, it's not because you're bad with money, it's because you need a serious system upgrade. And unlike your childhood programming, this time you get to choose what gets installed. The financial disparity between people with similar incomes makes perfect sense when you understand this principle. Two teachers making identical salaries can have completely different financial outcomes based solely on their mindset about money. One might see their salary as a fixed limitation and spend accordingly, while another might view it as just one income stream and develop side hustles or investments. I worked with twins, literally identical in genetics and raised in the same household, who developed completely different money situations. Jessica viewed money as something that flows and circulates, while Jennifer saw it as scarce and requiring protection. 20 years later, Jessica owned 2 properties and had a thriving business, while Jennifer remained stuck in a job she disliked, afraid to risk her secure paycheck despite being chronically underpaid. The most transformative realization is that your money mindset isn't fixed. The neural pathways formed in childhood created your default settings, but neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, means you can create new financial pathways throughout your life. This is exactly what happened with John, a client who grew up in extreme poverty. His early programming told him money was unreliable and would inevitably disappear. This led to a pattern of earning good money, but spending it immediately. His subconscious believed it would vanish anyway, so why not enjoy it now? Once he identified this pattern, he gradually rewired his thinking. 5 years later, he had built a 6-figure investment portfolio, something his childhood self would have considered impossible. The shift that changed everything for self-made millionaires wasn't finding a secret investment or starting the perfect business. It was reprogramming their fundamental beliefs about what money is and how it works. They learned to see money not as a limited resource to be hoarded or feared, but as a tool that responds to how you think about it and work with it. Uncovering your childhood money blueprint. Those millionaire mindset shifts don't happen by accident. They require uncovering the original financial blueprint installed during childhood. Think about your very first memory involving money. Was it finding coins in the couch cushions? Watching your parents argue about bills? Or maybe the excitement of receiving birthday money from a relative? That seemingly innocent memory might be the invisible force keeping your bank account from growing today. Our brains are fascinating financial time capsules. By age 7, most of us have already formed our core beliefs about money, what psychologists call money imprinting. These early experiences create a financial foundation that shapes how we interact with money decades later, often without our conscious awareness. Picture yourself as a child sitting at the kitchen table, absorbing everything your parents said and did around money. Maybe they constantly repeated phrases like, "We can't afford that," or "Money doesn't grow on trees." Perhaps they whispered anxiously about bills or splurged recklessly after paychecks. Whatever their relationship with money was, your young brain recorded it all like a high-definition camera, creating a blueprint that would silently guide your financial decisions into adulthood. Here's where things get interesting. There's often a massive disconnect between what you consciously want financially and what your subconscious is programmed to achieve. You might dream of financial freedom while unconsciously sabotaging opportunities that could get you there. Your adult brain says, "I want to be wealthy," but your childhood programming whispers, "Wealthy people are greedy," or "Money causes problems." Let's explore the 3 most common childhood money messages that limit wealth potential. The first is the "money is scarce" message. If you grew up hearing "we can't afford that" or watching your parents pinch pennies, you likely internalize the belief that there's never enough money to go around. As an adult, this might manifest as constant anxiety about spending, difficulty investing, or a tendency to hoard cash rather than put it to work. The second limiting message is "money is bad." Maybe your religious upbringing emphasized that money is the root of all evil, misquoting the actual scripture about the love of money. Or perhaps your parents criticized wealthy people as selfish or corrupt. This programming creates subconscious resistance to wealth. Your adult self might sabotage success because deep down you don't want to become the bad person your childhood self was warned about. The third common limiting message is "money equals worth." If your parents praised you for saving birthday money or made their approval conditional on financial responsibility, you might have learned that your value as a person is tied to your financial decisions. As an adult, this often creates perfectionistic thinking around money, where financial mistakes feel like moral failures rather than learning opportunities. Consider the story of Sarah. She was a brilliant marketing executive who kept mysteriously sabotaging her career just as she approached significant promotions. During our coaching sessions, we uncovered that her father had frequently said that rich people are greedy, a message that lodged deeply in her subconscious. Every time she approached a higher salary bracket, her internal programming would sound the alarm. If you make more money, you'll become greedy and selfish. To protect her self-image as a good person, she unconsciously created situations that derailed her progress. What makes these childhood money messages so powerful is that they form before we develop critical thinking skills. Your 5-year-old brain couldn't question whether money is hard to earn, was an objective truth, or just your parents' perspective based on their own upbringing and circumstances. You simply absorbed these messages as absolute facts about how the world works. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping these early money mindsets. Some cultures emphasize frugality and saving, while others may promote spending and enjoying life in the moment. These cultural messages create distinct financial behaviors that can follow us into adulthood. Your friend, who grew up in an immigrant household, might have entirely different money programming than someone raised in a family that had been wealthy for generations. The good news? Understanding your money mindset is the first step toward making positive changes in your financial life. These childhood beliefs don't have to be your financial destiny. The same neuroplasticity that allowed these patterns to form also gives you the power to rewrite them. Start by reflecting on your earliest money memories. What messages did you receive about wealth, saving, spending, and financial success? Did your parents fight about money? Celebrate it? Avoid talking about it entirely? These patterns provide clues to your subconscious programming. Next, notice where your financial behaviors seem irrational or self-defeating. Do you habitually sabotage yourself when you're about to reach a certain income level? Do you feel uncomfortable charging what you're worth? Do you spend impulsively when stressed? These patterns often point directly to childhood programming that needs updating. You might discover that your resistance to investing isn't actually about fear of market fluctuations. It's because your grandmother lost everything in the Great Depression and instilled a deep distrust of financial institutions in your family. Or perhaps your difficulty saving savings from watching your parents spend every paycheck immediately because you can't take it with you when you die. What's powerful about this awareness is that it allows you to separate your authentic financial goals from the programming you inherited. You get to decide which money beliefs serve you and which ones need updating. Just recognizing that your avoidance of financial planning stems from your father's anxiety around money, rather than some inherent flaw in your character, can be incredibly liberating. The millionaires I've worked with all share something in common. They've done this internal work of examining their childhood money blueprint. They've identified which beliefs were holding them back and consciously replaced them with perspectives that support wealth creation. They didn't just stumble into abundance thinking, they deliberately reprogrammed their financial operating systems. This is why two siblings raised in the same household can develop completely different financial outcomes. One might internalize the message, "We need to be careful with money, as money requires thoughtful management, leading to wealth," while the other translates it as "money is dangerous and scarce, leading to avoidance or anxiety." Your childhood money experiences shaped your current financial reality more than your education or career choices ever could. The degree hanging on your wall or the industry you work in has less impact on your long-term wealth than the invisible money scripts running in your mind since childhood. But here's the empowering part. Once identified, these scripts can be rewritten. Scarcity thinking, the wealth killer. Beyond those childhood money scripts lies an even more powerful force that might be sabotaging your wealth potential. Your brain is literally becoming less intelligent about money when you're trapped in scarcity thinking. Scientists have discovered that living with a scarcity mindset can actually lower your cognitive function by up to 14 IQ points. That's like trying to make financial decisions while severely sleep-deprived. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I can't afford that," automatically without even checking your account balance? Or maybe you've passed up opportunities because that's not for people like me? These are classic symptoms of scarcity thinking, a mental lens that filters your entire financial reality. Scarcity thinking is the persistent belief that there's never enough money, time, or resources to go around. It's the voice in your head that whispers you'll always struggle with money, or financial security isn't possible for you. And here's what makes it so dangerous. Scarcity thinking isn't just a negative attitude. It physically alters how your brain processes information and makes decisions. When your mind is consumed with what you lack, it creates a tunnel vision effect that researchers have documented in fascinating detail. Your brain becomes hyper-focused on immediate financial pressures, while completely missing potentially life-changing opportunities right in front of you. It's like wearing financial blinders that only let you see what you don't have. This mental filter affects your daily money decisions in sneaky ways. You might obsessively clip coupons to save $2 on groceries, which isn't inherently bad, but then completely miss the chance to negotiate $5,000 more on your salary because you're too afraid to ask. Or you might refuse to invest in a $500 course that could 10x your income potential because it feels too expensive in the moment. The science behind this is eye-opening. When you're in a state of scarcity, your brain shifts into crisis mode. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning, problem-solving, and impulse control, becomes overwhelmed. Instead of making thoughtful financial decisions, you make impulsive ones, driven by fear of missing out. This is why people living in scarcity often make financial moves that seem completely irrational to outside observers. Common scarcity thoughts might sound familiar. Money is incredibly hard to earn. There's never enough to go around. I have to struggle and sacrifice to survive, or if someone wins, someone else must lose. These beliefs act as self-fulfilling prophecies, creating the very financial limitations you fear most. Let me share something particularly fascinating from the research. Scarcity thinking triggers your brain to focus exclusively on short-term needs while completely neglecting long-term planning. It's why someone might cash out their retirement account to cover a relatively minor emergency, effectively trading their financial future for immediate relief. The brain under scarcity pressure cannot properly weigh future consequences against present needs. This narrowed focus extends to opportunity recognition as well. Two people can look at the exact same financial landscape and see completely different things. The person with scarcity thinking sees only obstacles and limitations, while someone else sees potential and possibilities. This isn't positive thinking fluff. It's a documented neurological difference in how information gets processed. Chronic financial stress compounds the problem. When you're constantly worried about money, your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone that, when elevated over time, actually damages neural connections in your brain. This creates a vicious cycle where financial stress leads to poorer decision-making, which creates more financial stress, which further impairs your cognitive ability. The research on this is incredibly clear. Living in a state of persistent scarcity doesn't just make you feel bad, it makes you less capable of finding solutions. It's like trying to solve complex problems with a significant portion of your brain temporarily offline. Think about the last time you made a financial decision you later regretted. Maybe you bought something impulsively that you couldn't afford, or you turned down an opportunity because you couldn't see how it would pay off. Chances are you were operating under the influence of scarcity thinking in that moment. What's particularly insidious about scarcity thinking is how it becomes normalized. You start believing that constant financial anxiety is just how life is, rather than recognizing it as a mental state that can be changed. The stress becomes so familiar that you don't even question it anymore. This normalized stress then creates a psychological barrier between you and potential wealth. You might subconsciously sabotage your own success because deep down, you don't believe you deserve financial abundance. Or, you might avoid taking calculated risks, the very kind that build wealth, because the potential for loss feels too threatening when you're already operating from a place of not enough. I want you to understand something crucial. Scarcity thinking isn't your fault. It's not a character flaw or a sign of weakness. It's a psychological adaptation to perceived resource limitations that may have been necessary at some point in your life. The problem is that this adaptation becomes maladaptive when it persists beyond the actual scarcity situation. Here's where things get interesting. Your brain can't always distinguish between actual scarcity and perceived scarcity. You might have enough money to meet your needs, but if you believe resources are limited, your brain responds as if you're in genuine financial danger. This triggers all those cognitive limitations we've discussed, even when they're not objectively necessary. This explains why some people remain financially stuck despite increasing their income. If you double your salary but maintain the same scarcity mindset, you'll likely find new ways to feel financially stressed rather than experiencing the security that should come with higher earnings. The lens through which you view money matters more than the amount of money itself. The most damaging aspect of scarcity thinking is how it blinds you to financial opportunities. Your brain literally filters out possibilities that don't align with your current beliefs about money. It's not that wealthy people are luckier. They're just operating with a different mental filter that allows them to see and seize opportunities that scarcity thinkers miss entirely. Think of it like wearing sunglasses. If you put on dark glasses, everything looks dimmer and harder to see clearly. Scarcity thinking is like wearing financial sunglasses that darken your perception of possibilities. The opportunities are still there, but you can't see them clearly, or at all. What's truly extraordinary is how quickly this can change once you recognize what's happening. Your brain has remarkable adaptability. The same neuroplasticity that allowed childhood money scripts to form can be leveraged to create new, more empowering financial patterns. The first step is becoming aware of when scarcity thinking is influencing your decisions. The bottom line? Scarcity thinking is keeping you poor by literally changing your brain's ability to recognize and act on financial opportunities. It's not just negative thinking. It's a cognitive impairment that directly impacts your financial decision-making capabilities. And until you address it, no amount of budgeting tips, investment strategy, abundance thinking, the millionaire mental shift. The opposite of scarcity thinking isn't just positive thinking. It's a complete mental framework that transforms how you see the financial world around you. What if every financial problem actually contained an opportunity you couldn't see yet? This isn't wishful thinking. It's the abundance mindset that separates self-made millionaires from everyone else. The abundance mindset operates on a fundamentally different wavelength than scarcity thinking. While scarcity has you focused on what's missing, abundance has you scanning for possibilities that others miss completely. It's like switching from black and white TV to color. Suddenly, you're seeing dimensions of opportunity that were always there, but invisible to your previous way of thinking. Research shows that people with abundance mindsets are significantly more likely to pursue entrepreneurial ventures and explore creative income streams. Why? Because they fundamentally believe in the potential for wealth creation rather than just wealth conservation. They're not asking, how can I protect what little I have? But rather, how can I create value in new ways that generate prosperity? Let me show you how dramatically different these mindsets look in action. When faced with a job loss, a scarcity thinker immediately panics, thinking, my income source is gone. How will I pay my bills? The job market is terrible. They frantically apply to similar positions, often accepting lower pay out of desperation. Compare that to David, who approached his layoff with an abundance mindset. Instead of seeing a crisis, he saw an opening. He had always wanted to start a business based on his expertise, but never had the time. The severance package gave him a financial runway, and within a year, he had built a six-figure consulting business that far exceeded his previous salary. Same external circumstance, completely different outcome based solely on mindset. The core belief driving abundance thinking is simple yet powerful. Resources and opportunities are plentiful if you train yourself to recognize them. While scarcity thinking narrows your focus to what's immediately threatened, abundance thinking expands your field of vision, allowing you to spot connections and possibilities that others miss. This isn't just motivational fluff, it fundamentally changes how your brain processes information. Studies show that abundance thinking expands creativity and enhances problem-solving abilities. Your brain literally becomes better at generating innovative solutions when it's not constrained by artificial limitations. The shift to abundance thinking creates fascinating changes in financial behavior. People with abundance mindsets demonstrate lower financial anxiety because they're less likely to hoard resources and more likely to share and invest in others. This openness creates more connections and opportunities, essentially becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy of prosperity. What does abundance thinking sound like in your head? Instead of I can't afford that, it's how can I create the resources to afford that? Instead of there aren't enough good jobs out there, it's what value can I create that others would pay for? Instead of I have to protect what little I have, it's money flows where value is created. So how can I increase my value? Other abundance thoughts include, there are multiple ways to increase my income. Financial setbacks contain lessons that can ultimately lead to greater wealth, and other people's success proves what's possible, not what's being taken from me. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but there are specific practices that can accelerate your transition from scarcity to abundance thinking. First, start practicing intentional gratitude daily. This isn't just feel-good advice. It's a practical tool for rewiring your brain. When you consciously focus on what you already have, you shift your attention from what's lacking to what's present. This creates a foundation for seeing possibilities rather than limitations. Gratitude literally shifts your focus from what you lack to appreciating what you have, which research shows leads to better financial decision-making. Second, challenge your limiting beliefs about money. Every time you catch yourself thinking, I can't afford that or I'll never make enough, stop and question it. Is it really true, or is it just a story you've been telling yourself? The shift from scarcity to abundance requires recognizing and challenging ingrained beliefs about limitation and insufficiency. Third, surround yourself with abundance thinkers. Your social circle profoundly influences your mindset. If you're constantly around people complaining about the economy and how impossible it is to get ahead, guess what mental framework you'll adopt? Find communities, even online ones, where people discuss opportunities, growth, and possibilities. Fourth, practice visualization. This might sound woo-woo, but it's actually a powerful tool used by elite performers in every field. Spend 5 minutes daily visualizing yourself, making confident financial decisions, recognizing opportunities, and creating value for others. Visualization serves as a mental blueprint for achieving financial success, training your brain to recognize opportunities when they appear in real life. Fifth, commit to lifelong learning. People with abundance mindsets are naturally curious and constantly expanding their knowledge base. They see learning as an investment, not an expense. This openness to new information makes them more adaptable to changes and better at spotting emerging opportunities before others. Research confirms that individuals with abundance mindsets are more likely to engage in lifelong learning, which is crucial for adapting to new financial opportunities. The beauty of abundance thinking is that it works regardless of your current financial situation. You don't need to be rich to think like a wealthy person. In fact, it works in the opposite direction. The mindset shift often comes first, creating the conditions that allow wealth to grow. What's fascinating is that abundance thinking doesn't just make you feel better about money, it fundamentally changes how you interact with financial opportunities. You become more willing to take calculated risks, more open to unconventional income streams, and more resilient when facing setbacks. Each of these traits is consistently found among self-made millionaires. Remember, abundance thinking isn't about denying reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about approaching those same problems with a different mental framework that expands possibilities rather than contracting them. You still acknowledge challenges, but you view them as temporary obstacles rather than permanent barriers. The most powerful aspect of abundance thinking is how it compounds over time. Each opportunity you recognize and act on creates new connections and possibilities, which in turn create more opportunities. It's like compound interest for your mind. Small shifts in perception lead to dramatically different outcomes over months and years. Emotional intelligence, the hidden financial superpower. Now that small shifts in perception can dramatically transform your financial trajectory, let's talk about what happens when emotions enter the picture. Have you ever made a seemingly smart money decision only to regret it completely a few days later? That's your emotions hijacking your financial brain, and it's the invisible factor separating the truly wealthy from everyone else. You might think that making good financial decisions is all about knowledge. Just learn the right investment strategies, understand compound interest, and follow the market trends, right? But here's the surprising truth. Your emotional responses to money situations might be quietly draining your bank account, regardless of how much financial knowledge you have. Think about the last time the market dropped. Did you feel that knot in your stomach, that urge to sell everything before it got worse? Or maybe you've experienced the opposite, getting caught up in investment excitement and throwing money at the next big thing without proper research. These aren't knowledge problems. They're emotional intelligence challenges. Financial emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and manage your emotions around money, and it might be the most underrated wealth-building skill. Even financial experts and market analysts with decades of experience make terrible money decisions when their emotions take the wheel. That's because our brains are wired to react emotionally first and think logically second. When it comes to your finances, there are 4 key components of emotional intelligence that directly impact your wealth-building potential. First is self-awareness, recognizing your emotional reactions to money situations in real time. Second is self-regulation, the ability to pause between feeling an emotion and taking action. Third is social awareness, understanding how others' emotions and behaviors around money influence your decisions. And fourth is relationship management, navigating financial interactions with others effectively. These components aren't just psychological theory, they translate directly to dollars and cents. Research shows that people with higher emotional intelligence earn up to 40% more than those with lower EI scores. Why? Because they don't make panicked selling decisions during market downturns. They don't splurge on impulsive purchases when feeling stressed. And they don't avoid important financial conversations out of discomfort. Let me introduce you to Mark, a tech executive with a 6-figure salary who kept sabotaging his wealth despite his financial knowledge. During market dips, he'd sell investments in a panic, locking in losses. When feeling insecure, he'd buy luxury items to boost his status. And when feeling confident, He'd make risky bets on unproven stocks. His emotional reactions were destroying his wealth faster than his income could build it. Each of us has specific financial triggers, situations, comments, or even memories that bypass our rational thinking and activate powerful emotional responses about money. Maybe it's checking your investment portfolio during volatility, comparing yourself to a more financially successful friend, or even discussing finances with your partner. These triggers can launch you into emotional decisions that feel right in the moment but work against your long-term wealth. 3 emotions in particular tend to sabotage financial success: fear, greed, and shame. Fear manifests as panic selling during market downturns or keeping all your money in cash because investing seems scary, guaranteeing you'll lose purchasing power to inflation. Greed shows up as chasing investment fads or taking excessive risks to get rich quick. And shame often prevents people from addressing financial problems early, seeking advice, or learning from mistakes. Instead, they hide from their financial reality until small issues become major crises. These emotional responses aren't character flaws, they're natural human reactions. Your brain evolved prioritizing immediate survival over long-term planning. When your ancestors faced a threat, the fast emotional response that told them to run saved their lives. But in modern financial markets, that same response tells you to sell during downturns, precisely when you should often be holding or even buying. The good news is that financial emotional intelligence isn't fixed. It can be developed through specific practices. Mindfulness techniques can help you create space between feeling an emotion and acting on it. Financial journaling can reveal patterns in your emotional responses to money. And working with a financial advisor who understands behavioral finance can provide an objective perspective when emotions run high. Trevor, an investor who practiced financial mindfulness for 6 months, noticed something remarkable. He started recognizing the physical sensations of financial anxiety, tightness in his chest, shallow breathing, before making decisions. This awareness alone helped him pause and evaluate whether his planned action was emotionally driven or aligned with his strategy. The result? He stopped panic selling during volatility, and his portfolio performance improved by 22% compared to his previous emotional approach. Another powerful practice is employing a decision-making cooling period for any financial move above a certain dollar amount. By committing to waiting 24 to 72 hours before executing significant financial decisions, you give your logical brain time to catch up to your emotional first response. This simple technique has saved countless investors from costly emotional mistakes. What's fascinating is how emotional intelligence and financial literacy work together. Studies show that individuals who are financially literate tend to exhibit higher emotional intelligence around money matters, which creates a positive feedback loop. Learning about money reduces fear of the unknown, which in turn helps manage emotions, which then makes you more receptive to further financial education. One particularly effective emotional intelligence practice is gratitude. By regularly acknowledging what you already have financially, you shift your focus from scarcity to abundance, which reduces anxiety-driven financial decisions. This isn't just feel-good advice. Research shows that practicing gratitude actually changes how your brain processes financial information, making you less susceptible to fear-based choices. Think of your emotional intelligence as a financial muscle that needs regular exercise. Just like physical strength, it improves with consistent training. Each time you successfully navigate a financial decision without letting emotions derail you, that muscle gets stronger. And over time, this emotional resilience becomes one of your greatest financial assets. The Millionaire Visualization Method. With your emotional intelligence muscles now getting stronger, it's time to explore another powerful tool in the wealth-building arsenal. What if your brain literally can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and something you've actually lived through? What this fascinating quirk of neuroscience might be the secret weapon that separates the financially average from the extraordinarily wealthy. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how Olympic athletes often close their eyes and mentally rehearse their performance before competing? They're not just daydreaming or hoping for success. They're using visualization, a scientifically backed technique that literally rewires their brains for peak performance. And here's the kicker. The most successful entrepreneurs and investors use this exact same mental practice to achieve seemingly impossible financial results. Visualization isn't some woo-woo manifestation technique or wishful thinking. It's a legitimate cognitive practice with real neurological effects. When you vividly imagine yourself achieving financial success, your brain doesn't fully distinguish between that mental rehearsal and the real thing. The same neural networks activate, forming pathways that make that imagined reality more likely to materialize in your actual life. This happens because of how our brains are wired. When you consistently visualize wealth and abundance, a fascinating part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS, kicks into high gear. Think of your RAS as your brain's bouncer. It decides what information gets through to your conscious awareness. And here's where it gets interesting. When you program your RAS through visualization, it starts filtering the world differently. Suddenly, you begin noticing financial opportunities that were always there but previously invisible to you. Let me walk you through the exact 5-minute daily visualization practice that many self-made millionaires swear by. First, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and take several deep breaths to center yourself. Then, create what experts call a mental movie, a detailed narrative of your financial journey and goals. But don't just see it. The key is engaging all 5 senses to make this experience incredibly vivid. Imagine yourself confidently making wise investments. What does that environment look like? Can you hear the sounds around you as you review your growing portfolio? If you're visualizing your successful business, what does your office or workspace feel like? Maybe you can even smell the coffee brewing as you start another profitable day. The most effective financial visualization involves seeing yourself not just enjoying the end results of wealth, but actively going through the process of building it. See yourself analyzing opportunities, making decisions, overcoming obstacles, and taking calculated risks. This mental rehearsal makes these actions feel more natural when you encounter them in real life. Many people make the mistake of visualizing only the end goal, like having $1 million, without imagining the steps to get there. That's where visualization often fails. Your brain needs the complete story, including the journey, to create those crucial neural pathways. Another common mistake is visualizing from a third-person perspective, as if watching yourself on TV. For maximum impact, always visualize from the first-person viewpoint, seeing through your own eyes, experiencing the sensations directly. This makes the experience much more real to your brain. For best results, end each visualization session by imagining a specific, immediate action you can take today toward your financial goals. This bridges the gap between imagination and reality, prompting you to actually implement what you visualized. Now, why does this work so well? Neuroscience shows us that visualization creates new neural pathways in your brain that make certain behaviors more automatic. It's like mentally rehearsing a tennis serve or piano piece. The more you practice mentally, the more natural the actual performance becomes. The same principle applies to financial behaviors and decisions. When you regularly engage in this practice, something remarkable happens. Your brain starts operating differently in real-world financial situations. You'll notice you're more attuned to opportunities, less reactive to temporary setbacks, and more confident in your decision-making. That's because you've already experienced success through visualization, and your brain is now primed to repeat those patterns in reality. Research confirms the power of this approach. Studies have found that visualization can increase goal achievement by up to 1.4 times compared to not using this technique. That's a 40% improvement just from a 5-minute daily mental practice. No wonder so many high achievers incorporate visualization into their daily routines. Let me share a simple step-by-step guide to effective financial visualization that you can start using today. Step 1. Clarify exactly what financial success looks like for you. The more specific, the better. Instead of just being rich, define what that means. A certain income level, specific investments, particular lifestyle elements. Step 2. Create a detailed mental movie of your financial success journey. Include both the process and the results. See yourself taking specific actions that lead to wealth building. Step 3. Engage all 5 senses. What do you see, hear, feel, smell, and even taste in this financial success scenario? The richer the sensory experience, the more impactful the visualization. Step 4. Experience positive emotions during your visualization. Feel the confidence, satisfaction, and sense of accomplishment that comes with financial mastery. These emotions strengthen the neural connections. Step 5. Close each session by identifying one concrete action you can take today to move toward your visualized future. Then, actually do it. As you make this a daily practice, you'll notice something fascinating happening. You'll begin spotting money-making opportunities that previously would have been invisible to you. A casual conversation might suddenly reveal a potential investment. A problem at work might transform into a business idea. Your brain is now programmed to recognize these opportunities because you've repeatedly visualized yourself finding them. Think about it this way. When you buy a new car, suddenly you start noticing that same model everywhere on the road. They were always there. You just never noticed them before. Your RAS was filtering them out as unimportant. In the same way, financial opportunities surround us constantly, but most people's brains are programmed to filter them out. Visualization reprograms your RAS to highlight these opportunities instead of overlooking them. The most successful wealth builders aren't just making better decisions. They're literally perceiving a different financial reality than everyone else. And through consistent visualization, you can train your brain to see what they see. Keep in mind that visualization is most effective when combined with action. Your brain forms the strongest neural pathways when imagined experiences are followed by real ones. So use visualization as a powerful preparation tool. Calculated risk-taking, the courage millionaires cultivate. Visualization prepares your mind for success, but there's a crucial element that separates dreamers from achievers: the willingness to take calculated risks. Most people think millionaires have a natural tolerance for risk or simply enjoy gambling with their money. In reality, they've developed a completely different relationship with risk that turns what seems like danger to most people into strategic opportunities with manageable downsides. Think about what happens when someone wins the lottery. Despite suddenly having millions, around 70% of lottery winners end up broke within a few years. Meanwhile, we've all heard stories of entrepreneurs who lost everything only to rebuild their fortunes from scratch. What's the difference? It's not luck, it's how they approach risk. The average person's relationship with risk is dominated by fear. When faced with financial uncertainty, their brain's threat response activates, triggering that primal fight-or-flight reaction. This evolutionary hardwiring served our ancestors well when avoiding predators, but becomes a major liability when making financial decisions. Your brain prioritizes avoiding loss over securing gains, which explains why potential financial losses feel about twice as painful as equivalent gains feel good. This fear-based approach to risk manifests in ways that seem sensible but actually sabotage wealth building. Keeping all your money in a savings account feels safe until you realize inflation is silently eroding your purchasing power year after year. Avoiding the stock market because of potential downturns means missing out on long-term growth that has historically outpaced almost every other asset class. Millionaires understand something most people don't. Avoiding all risk isn't actually safe. It's dangerous to your financial health. They don't eliminate risk, they manage it through a strategic framework. Let me show you the crucial difference between gambling and calculated risk-taking. When you gamble, the odds are mathematically stacked against you, with outcomes largely determined by chance. When millionaires take calculated risks, they carefully assess multiple factors. They research thoroughly, understand the potential downside, determine their margin of safety, and analyze their risk capacity. Consider Elon Musk's journey. After selling PayPal, he invested nearly all his fortune into Tesla and SpaceX, companies in industries with historically high failure rates. To most, this looked like financial suicide. But Musk wasn't gambling. He conducted extensive research, identified specific market gaps, assembled expert teams, and determined exactly how much he could afford to lose. This calculated approach allowed him to persist through multiple near bankruptcies before achieving extraordinary success. It's not just famous billionaires who use this approach. Take Jennifer, a regular client who started with a small e-commerce business. After 6 months of research, she identified a growing market gap in eco-friendly pet products. Instead of risking her entire savings, she allocated just 15% of her investment funds to test her concept, established clear metrics for success, and set a specific timeline for evaluation. When initial results proved promising, she gradually scaled her investment. 3 failed product lines later, she found her winning formula and built a 7-figure business. What Jennifer understood was that intelligent risk assessment isn't about eliminating failure. It's about making failure affordable and educational. This brings us to a powerful framework that millionaires use when evaluating financial risks. First, they clearly define the potential reward. Not just "I might make money," but specific projections based on research and realistic scenarios. They ask, what's the upside potential? How does this align with my long-term financial goals? Second, they calculate the maximum possible downside. What's the worst-case scenario? Can I afford to lose this amount without damaging my core financial security? This creates what financial experts call margin, the buffer zone that reduces stress and enhances decision-making. Third, they evaluate their edge. What specialized knowledge, skills, or resources do they bring that improve their odds of success? Millionaires rarely venture into territories where they have zero competitive advantage. Fourth, they determine their risk capacity. Not just what they can financially afford to lose, but also what they can emotionally handle. They recognize that taking risks that cause extreme anxiety will lead to poor decision-making under pressure. Finally, they create an exit strategy before entering any risk situation. They establish clear conditions for when to cut losses or take profits, removing emotional decision-making during turbulent times. The psychology behind risk aversion runs deep. Studies show that most people dramatically underestimate their capacity to handle setbacks. This leads to a phenomenon psychologists call anticipated regret. We avoid actions not because they're objectively too risky, but because we fear how bad we'll feel if things go wrong. Millionaires have trained themselves to focus instead on anticipated missed opportunity, the potential regret of not taking action when a calculated risk presented itself. This subtle shift in perspective makes all the difference in spotting and acting on wealth-building opportunities. Here's how you can start building your risk tolerance muscle. Start with small, educational risks that have limited downside but teach valuable lessons. Maybe it's investing a small portion of your portfolio in a different asset class or starting a side business with minimal startup costs. The goal isn't immediate financial success, but developing your risk assessment skills. Create a risk portfolio that balances different types of opportunities across various areas of your financial life. Just as you wouldn't put all your investments in one stock, don't concentrate all your risk-taking in one area. Practice the regret minimization framework by asking, in 10 years, which will I regret more? Taking this calculated risk or avoiding it? This future-focused perspective often clarifies decision-making. Document both your successes and failures, analyzing what went right or wrong. The most valuable aspect of taking calculated risks isn't the immediate outcome, but the knowledge gained through the process. Regularly reassess your risk tolerance as your financial situation evolves. What might be an appropriate risk with $10,000 in savings differs greatly from what makes sense with $100,000 or $1,000. Remember that building financial resilience isn't about avoiding failure. It's about failing intelligently and recovering stronger. Every self-made millionaire has a story of setbacks that taught them crucial lessons about risk management. These experiences didn't weaken their risk tolerance. They strengthened it by providing real-world education no book or course could deliver. The concept of financial margin is particularly important here. By maintaining a buffer between your income and expenses, you create the psychological safety needed to approach risk with clarity rather than desperation. This margin reduces stress and enhances your ability to make rational decisions about potential opportunities. What's fascinating is how this approach to risk creates a virtuous cycle. As you take smart risks and learn from both successes and failures, your risk assessment skills improve. This leads to better outcomes over time, which further increases your confidence in taking calculated risks. Meanwhile, those who avoid all risk remain stuck in the same financial position, wondering why they can't seem to get ahead. The millionaire learning loop. That virtuous cycle of risk and reward is powerful, but there's an even more fundamental habit that precedes it. Most people assume millionaires spend their free time cow money or networking, but research shows they're actually obsessed with something entirely different. Something the World Economic Forum says half of all employees will desperately need by 2025. While everyone's looking for the latest investment hack, self-made millionaires are quietly building their fortunes through one deceptively simple habit: continuous learning. This isn't just about casually browsing articles or watching the occasional YouTube video. I'm talking about a deliberate, consistent approach to education that separates the wealthy from everyone else. Think about the difference between someone who reads 24 books a year versus someone who hasn't picked up a book since high school. Now imagine that gap multiplied across decades. That's the hidden advantage creating wealth, while others wonder why they're stuck in financial quicksand. What's fascinating is how differently millionaires view learning compared to the average person. Most people see education as something that ends after college or a training program. They approach learning with what psychologists call a fixed mindset, believing their intelligence and abilities are static traits that can't significantly change. Millionaires, on the other hand, embrace a growth mindset. They see their abilities as muscles that strengthen with consistent exercise. Instead of saying, "I'm not good with money" or "I'm not a tech person," they ask, "How can I get better at understanding investments?" Or, "What resources could help me learn this new software?" This mindset shift transforms how they approach every challenge. When most people hit an obstacle, they see a dead end. When millionaires face the same barrier, they see a puzzle to solve through acquiring new knowledge. Even more importantly, the wealthy view learning as an investment rather than an expense. Think about that for a minute. When most people consider spending $500 on a course, workshop, or conference, they see it as money leaving their pocket. Millionaires see that same $500 as capital being allocated toward future returns. This perspective completely changes their decision-making. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this book, course, coaching?" they ask, "What's the potential return on investing in this knowledge?" This small shift leads to dramatically different choices over time. One of the most interesting discoveries about self-made millionaires is their approach to what experts call skill stacking. Rather than trying to become the absolute best at a single skill, which is incredibly difficult, they develop a unique combination of several valuable skills. This creates a powerful competitive advantage in the marketplace. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who's good but not world-class at graphic design, has decent writing skills, and understands the basics of digital marketing. Individually, these skills might not command premium rates, but combined, they create a unique value proposition that clients will pay top dollar for. Someone who can create visually appealing content optimized for audience engagement. That's exactly how skill stacking creates outsized financial returns. The combinations are nearly endless: programming plus healthcare knowledge, financial analysis plus communication skills, leadership plus technical expertise. The sweet spot is finding complementary skills that solve valuable problems when used together. But what exactly should you be learning? Millionaires tend to focus on 5 key categories of knowledge. First, they prioritize understanding market dynamics and consumer psychology. This isn't just for entrepreneurs. Knowing how markets function and why people make buying decisions creates value in any career or business. Second, they study systems thinking, the ability to see how different parts interconnect and influence each other. This skill helps identify leverage points where small efforts produce outsized results. Third, they develop communication excellence. Whether it's persuasive writing, public speaking, or effective negotiation, the ability to communicate ideas clearly drives financial success across every industry. Fourth, They cultivate self-knowledge through tools like personality assessments, reflection practices, and feedback analysis. Understanding your strengths, weaknesses, and behavioral patterns helps optimize your decision-making. Finally, they focus on transferable skills that maintain value regardless of economic changes. Critical thinking, problem-solving, and adaptability remain valuable, whether you're in healthcare, technology, or manufacturing. The Deloitte research highlights just how powerful this commitment to learning can be, revealing that companies focusing on employee growth see remarkable benefits, including a 94% higher likelihood of employees staying with firms that invest in their development. This isn't just good for organizations. It reflects the same principle that makes continuous learning so valuable for individuals. What's truly extraordinary is that with today's technology, world-class knowledge is more accessible than ever before. For less than the cost of a dinner out, you can access courses taught by industry leaders, books by brilliant thinkers, and podcasts featuring conversations with experts at the top of their fields. This accessibility makes the gap between learners and non-learners even more dramatic. Two people with identical starting points can end up in completely different financial positions based solely on their learning habits. Consider how this plays out in real life. When automation eliminates certain jobs, those who continuously learn can pivot to emerging opportunities. When market conditions change, continuous learners spot trends early and position themselves accordingly. When new technologies reshape industries, lifelong learners adapt while others struggle to catch up. This learning advantage compounds over time, creating an ever-widening gap between those who consistently upgrade their knowledge and those who rely on what they already know. It's the mental equivalent of compound interest, where small, consistent investments yield exponential returns over decades. The beauty of this wealth-building habit is that anyone can start implementing it immediately. You don't need special connections, large amounts of capital, or an advanced degree. You simply need to commit to regular, intentional learning. Begin by setting aside just 20 minutes a day for focused learning. That's less time than most people spend scrolling through social media, yet it adds up to over 121 hours of dedicated education per year. Whether through reading, listening to podcasts, taking online courses, or attending workshops, this consistent practice creates tremendous value over time. Another powerful strategy is joining learning communities where knowledge is freely shared. This might be a mastermind group, an online forum, or regular meetings with growth-oriented friends. These environments accelerate learning through exposure to diverse perspectives and accountability for putting knowledge into practice. Perhaps most importantly, effective learners immediately apply what they discover. They don't just collect information, they experiment with new approaches, test different strategies, and integrate insights into their daily decisions. This application turns abstract knowledge into practical wisdom and financial results. Your 30-day money mindset transformation plan. While learning builds your financial knowledge base, your actual money mindset might still be sabotaging your success behind the scenes. Did you know that neuroscientists have identified specific daily practices that can literally rewire your brain's financial operating system in less than a month? That's right. The difference between financial struggle and wealth often isn't about more information, but about transforming how your brain processes the money information you already have. Let's face it, changing deeply ingrained money beliefs is challenging. These patterns have been running in your subconscious for decades. But here's the good news. With the right approach, you can create dramatic shifts in just 30 days. This isn't about positive thinking or wishing for wealth. It's about systematically rebuilding your financial psychology through proven practices. I've developed a practical 30-day plan that breaks this transformation into manageable weekly chunks. Let's walk through exactly what this looks like. Week 1, Financial Self-Discovery. Start by identifying your current money mindset through daily money journaling. Each morning, spend just 5 minutes writing about your feelings toward money, noting any anxiety, excitement, or resistance that emerges. This practice helps bring subconscious beliefs into your awareness. By the end of this week, patterns will emerge that reveal your hidden money scripts. Next, conduct a money belief audit by writing down all your thoughts about wealth, saving, and earning. For each belief, ask yourself, where did this come from? Is this actually true? How is this serving me? This powerful exercise exposes limiting beliefs you never realized were holding you back. Week 2, Belief Transformation. Now that you've identified your negative money beliefs, it's time to consciously replace them with empowering alternatives. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'll never be able to save because my expenses are too high," immediately reframe it to, "How can I adjust my spending to save more?" This shift from limitation to possibility is subtle but profound. Set aside 10 minutes each day for visualization exercises. Unlike vague daydreaming, effective visualization involves engaging all your senses while imagining specific financial scenarios, receiving payment for your work, checking growing account balances, or making confident investment decisions. This practice starts building new neural pathways that support wealth creation. Week 3, Goal Setting and Environment Design. With clearer thinking in place, it's time to establish concrete financial goals. Remember, effective goals provide direction and motivation, shifting your focus from scarcity to abundance. Break larger aspirations into manageable milestones that feel attainable. For example, instead of become financially independent, create specific targets like save $500 this month or research 2 potential passive income streams this week. Then transform your physical environment to support your new mindset. Clear financial clutter, create an organized system for bills, and establish a dedicated space for your money work. Your surroundings powerfully influence your thoughts, so removing visual reminders of financial chaos reinforces your emerging abundance mentality. Week 4, Integration and Accountability. In this final week, focus on solidifying your new financial identity through daily practice and social reinforcement. Share your goals with someone who will hold you accountable. Research shows this dramatically increases follow-through. Consider finding a money buddy to check in with weekly about your mindset practices. Now's the time to surround yourself with positive financial influences. Financial psychologists emphasize that the people around you significantly impact your money mindset. Seek out friends or mentors who maintain healthy attitudes toward money. These supportive connections will reinforce your own positive money beliefs and help maintain your momentum after the 30-day period ends. Let me share Alex's story, a marketing professional who implemented this exact 30-day plan. When Alex began, he had a stable income but constantly felt financial anxiety. Through his money journaling in week 1, he discovered a deeply held belief that money is unpredictable and will disappear, stemming from his parents' sudden job losses during his childhood. By week 2, Alex was actively replacing this belief with, "I create financial stability through consistent actions." His daily visualization practice involved imagining himself calmly reviewing his growing emergency fund. By week 3, he had set specific savings goals and reorganized his home office to eliminate the stacks of unopened bills that triggered his anxiety. In week 4, he joined an online community of financial enthusiasts who provided support and accountability. The results? Within 30 days, Alex reported significantly reduced financial stress, made his first ever contribution to an investment account, and most surprisingly, received a raise at work after confidently negotiating with his manager, something he would never have attempted before. Alex's transformation wasn't unique. Taylor, a freelance designer, followed the same process and discovered her belief that charging premium rates is greedy was limiting her income. After 4 weeks of mindset work, she raised her rates by 30% and attracted better clients who valued her work more highly. To track your own progress, I recommend creating a simple mindset meter, a 1 to 10 scale measuring your financial confidence, optimism, and action-taking. Rate yourself at the beginning of the program and check in weekly. Most people see their scores increase by 3 to 4 points by the end of the month. You'll likely face obstacles during this process. The most common is the backslide, when old thought patterns resurface under stress. When this happens, don't get discouraged. It's actually a sign that your brain is rewiring itself. Simply acknowledge the old belief, remind yourself it's just a thought pattern, not reality, and gently redirect to your new empowering perspective. Another powerful practice is mindfulness meditation. Even 5 minutes daily helps you stay present and reduces anxiety about financial decisions. This balanced perspective makes it easier to recognize and appreciate abundance rather than fixating on scarcity. The emotional regulation that comes from mindfulness proves crucial for making sound financial choices. What specific changes might you experience within 30 days? Most people report significantly less anxiety when checking their bank accounts, greater confidence in making financial decisions, and a notable increase in financial opportunities they suddenly notice. Some participants even report unexpected income appearing, not through magic, but because they've removed the mental blocks that prevented them from seeing and seizing opportunities. Remember, transforming your money mindset isn't about wishful thinking. It's about practical daily habits that literally change your brain's wiring around money. The neural pathways that have been leading you toward financial limitation can be redirected toward abundance through consistent Those neural pathways we just discussed. There's one daily practice that supercharges their development toward abundance faster than anything else. Surprisingly, it has nothing to do with money management techniques or investment strategies. The most powerful wealth-building habit takes just minutes a day and costs absolutely nothing. What is this secret financial superpower? Gratitude. I know what you're thinking. Gratitude, really? How is being thankful for what you already have supposed to help you get more? It seems completely counterintuitive. If you're focused on appreciating what you have, aren't you less motivated to pursue more? This is exactly where most people get it wrong. The truth is, gratitude isn't just some fluffy self-help concept. It's a neurological game changer that literally rewires your brain for wealth. And science is backing this up in fascinating ways. Recent research has revealed that people who practice gratitude consistently report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction and overall happiness. But here's where it gets interesting for your wallet. These same studies show these positive emotional states directly correlate with improved financial behaviors and decision-making. When your brain operates from a place of gratitude, you make smarter money moves. Think about it like this. When you're constantly focused on what you lack, your brain stays in protection mode, scanning for threats and limitations. But when you shift to gratitude, your nervous system relaxes. This opens up the cognitive resources needed for creativity, opportunity recognition, and strategic thinking, all essential ingredients for wealth creation. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. Gratitude activates regions in your brain associated with reward and positive emotions. When you express appreciation for the money flowing into your life, even in small amounts, your brain strengthens neural pathways that reinforce a mindset conducive to financial growth. You're essentially training your brain to notice abundance rather than scarcity. I call this the abundance loop, a self-reinforcing cycle where gratitude leads to opportunity recognition, which leads to financial growth, which gives you more to be grateful for. It's the opposite of the scarcity spiral that keeps most people financially stuck. Let me share something fascinating about the way gratitude works on your brain. Remember how we talked about those neural pathways that drive financial behavior? Gratitude practices have been shown to actually redirect those pathways away from scarcity and fear. When you consistently appreciate financial resources and opportunities, no matter how small, you're literally reprogramming your mind's relationship with money. What makes this so powerful is how it shifts your relationship with uncertainty. Financial anxiety often stems from fear of the unknown, but gratitude grounds you in the present, acknowledging what's working right now. This creates emotional resilience, which is crucial when making financial decisions or facing challenges. You move from a reactive state to a responsive one. So how do you harness this gratitude advantage for your financial life? Let me share some specific exercises that financial coaches recommend to their highest performing clients. The first is what I call the Financial Appreciation Inventory. Each morning, write down 3 specific things you're grateful for regarding your finances. But here's the key. Be detailed and precise. Instead of "I'm grateful for my job," Try I'm grateful for the $742 direct deposit that hit my account yesterday, which covers my rent with $218 left over. This specificity trains your brain to notice the actual flow of resources in your life, rather than vague concepts. Another powerful practice is the Opportunity Gratitude Journal. Each evening, write down at least one financial opportunity or resource that appeared during your day. Maybe someone mentioned a side project, you discovered a new investment option, or you found an unexpected discount. The magic happens when you begin actively scanning for these opportunities throughout your day. Your brain starts spotting them everywhere. The third exercise is what financial coaches call prosperity acknowledgement. This involves expressing appreciation out loud when spending money. Instead of feeling pain when paying bills, try saying, "I'm grateful I can pay this electric bill, which powers my home and allows me to work remotely." This simple reframe transforms spending from loss to exchange of value, completely changing your emotional relationship with money flow. What's particularly powerful about gratitude is how it affects your stress response around financial decisions. When faced with money challenges, most people immediately activate their fight-or-flight response, flooding their system with cortisol and shutting down the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for strategic thinking. Daily gratitude practice has been shown to reduce this stress response, keeping your higher cognitive functions online when you need them most for making smart financial choices. The most successful self-made millionaires understand this connection between gratitude and wealth creation intuitively. They don't practice gratitude because they're wealthy. They've become wealthy partly because they practice gratitude. It creates a psychological foundation that supports better financial decisions, increased resilience during setbacks, and heightened awareness of opportunities. One particularly effective gratitude exercise specifically designed for wealth building is resource recognition. Take 5 minutes to list all the non-monetary resources at your disposal: your skills, education, relationships, health, time, access to information, and so on. This exercise reveals the abundant resources you already possess that can be leveraged for financial growth. Most people focus exclusively on what they lack while overlooking their existing assets. But here's what makes gratitude truly transformative for your financial life. It doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what you see. When your brain is trained to recognize and appreciate resources, it becomes significantly better at spotting opportunities that others miss completely. The financial landscape hasn't changed, but your ability to navigate it has. Think of gratitude as the mental equivalent of cleaning your financial windshield. The opportunities for wealth were always there in your field of vision, but now you can actually see them clearly. This clarity leads to better decisions, which lead to better outcomes, which gives you more to be grateful for, creating a powerful upward spiral. What makes this approach so different from traditional financial advice is that it works from the inside out, rather than the outside in. Most financial strategies focus exclusively on external behaviors like budgeting or investing, without addressing the internal operating system that drives those behaviors. Gratitude rewires that operating system at its core. This might be the missing piece in your financial puzzle. If you've been doing all the right things with your money but still feel stuck, a consistent gratitude practice could be the catalyst that finally creates momentum. And unlike complex investment strategies that require specialized knowledge, gratitude is accessible to anyone, regardless of their current financial situation. As we wrap up today's journey through the millionaire mindset, remember what Chris Rock wisely said: "Wealth is not about having a lot of money, it's about having a lot of options." That's the essence of what we've been exploring together, how your mindset creates those options. The transformation we've discussed isn't about overnight success. It's about consistent daily practices that gradually rewire your brain's relationship with money. Setting clear financial goals, practicing gratitude for what you already have, and committing to continuous learning. These aren't just nice ideas, they're the actual blueprint used by self-made millionaires. Your wealth journey starts with a decision. Are you willing to do the inner work? Because that's where true financial transformation begins. Not with your paycheck or the economy, but with your inner work. Because that's where true financial transformation begins. Not with your paycheck or the economy, but with your inner work. Because that's where true financial transformation begins. Not with your paycheck or the economy, but with your inner work. Because that's where true financial transformation begins. but with the mindset you choose to cultivate starting right now.